right, good evening and welcome everybody to the Village of Webberville Council meeting. Today is July 8th, 2025. We'll start with a call to order and a roll call, please.
McEwen?
Here.
Schoenborn? Here. Stanfield? Here. Walter? Here. Schulte?
Here. All right, everybody please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And approval for this evening's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, just as a quick reminder, we do have 3 public hearings scheduled before we get on to our regular meeting. We are planning on discussing those as new business later, so the immediately affected parties may speak during public comment, but the bulk of the discussion amongst the council will happen during new business. Along with that, just as a friendly reminder for public comment, this goes for the public hearings as well as the general public comment. That is to be 3 minutes to each individual who wishes to speak. That'll be uninterrupted. We will not be answering questions. We will be taking notes, and we will try to get back to those questions by the end of the week. And just as a reminder too, with public comment, we have added a public comment section at the end of the meeting as well. So if you want to stick around for that, please do so. So with that, first up, we have our public hearing for the 725 North Main Street zoning change. This is regarding request for a lot split for those who are unaware. At this point, I recommend that we open the public hearing at 6:03 p.m. So move that.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so now we are in public comment at 6:03 for the 725 North Main Street zoning change. Any comments from the public on that topic? Sir, go ahead.
Dave Group, 740 Waldo Road. What we're trying to accomplish is to reestablish a lot that was split prior and was combined with the Norton's property. So basically, we're just trying to go back to the way it was, so that we can sell it for another individual purchase and buy out.
Okay. Is that all?
That's it.
Okay. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I recommend we close the public hearing for the 725 North Main Street zoning change at 6:04.
So moved.
Motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, next, the public hearing for the zoning amendments for accessory buildings and donation bins. I recommend that we open the public hearing for that at 6:04 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We are now open for public comment regarding the zoning amendments for accessory buildings and donation bins.
So, you're asking us questions?
We're open for public comment at this time.
Oh, I don't have a comment, but I have an issue with a hole.
So we have regular public comment after the public hearings.
I can't hear you.
So this is just public comment for donation bins.
Oh,
There will be regular public comment later.
okay.
Mr. President,
Yes,
could
sir.
you explain what this public hearing entails?
So this is for a zoning amendment change to allow for provisions for donation bins that organizations frequently put on private property.
Is this a permanent issue or is it temporary?
It's a zoning change.
Okay, but you say donation bins, I'm sorry, I don't know what this is all about.
For clothing and shoes
Okay.
for organizations that take those items.
And it's gonna be located where?
This is just a zoning change on that topic.
Got it.
Like what we have over at Dollar General.
There's always a mess.
So, any other public comment?
And who would this be taking care of this?
We're not answering questions at this time. This is public comment. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I recommend we close the public hearing for the zoning amendment, accessory buildings and donation amendments, 606.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, next, third and last public hearing is for the zoning amendment regarding setbacks. This was an issue that was brought forth by a downtown business, realizing that there's some conflicting language in our ordinances regarding accessory buildings and their setbacks in core downtown area. So with that said, I recommend that we open the public hearing at 6:07.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, so now we are open for public comment regarding the zoning amendments for setbacks for accessory structures in downtown buildings. Any public comment on that? Seeing none, so I recommend we close the public hearing for zoning amendments regarding setbacks at 6:07.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, now we are into regular public comments at 6:08 at this point. If anybody has anything that they wish to say on public record, please do so now.
Would there be an answer to a public question?
No.
That's what I thought.
Yes. I have, I'm sorry. Is it okay to speak now?
Yes, go ahead.
I have, me and my neighbor lady have a hole near our sidewalk. It's been there for a long time, and it's pretty deep. And we want you to look at it. And my sidewalk, one of my sidewalk is up this, you can see the whole sidewalk.
What is the address?
302 South Summit.
Thank you.
Do you want to see pictures or no?
We can follow up after the meeting.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna be here, I gotta leave, I got company coming, but well, anyway. Sally Brody and me, the one that has the hole by the sidewalk. Mine's right near the water meter.
Okay.
One more question, Mr. President, if I may.
Yes, sir.
There was a couple weeks ago, I had questioned you, sir, on a notification as a courtesy to the public that discussions, videoing would be taped, and you indicated that you would work on getting some kind of signage that would indicate that this is taking place. Has that been accomplished? Do you remember that conversation we had? It was at a public hearing, a public meeting, and you said that you would order the plaques to let people know as a courtesy. I know it's not required. Has that been done yet? For example, walking into the public office, having a discussion with clerks or somebody with the village, and that is a tape conversation and videotape. And I just talked to you about the concern, and as a public courtesy to let the public know that that is something that is taking place. Is that still something that you're going to put some type of notification in? Or is that something that you have changed your mind on?
Anything else?
That was a question.
We're not answering questions. This is public comment.
When would I be able to get an answer to this? That was the question.
A minute and a half left.
I'll get with you later, sir.
Okay, anything else?
Not if I don't get questions answered.
Okay, anyone else for public comment? I'm seeing none, so we'll close public comment at 6:11. For my own comments, please, Ms. Brody, is it?
Brody. And Elizabeth, I'm a board.
Okay. Please see Jessica or Carolyn down at the village office, and we'll get those pictures over to our DPW, and we'll have them take a look at that.
Answered your question.
And then regarding the question about plaques or notices of public audio and video recording, those have been ordered, and those have been put in place and have been for almost 2 months now.
Thank you, sir.
So is it okay if I leave now?
Yeah, by all means.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Very much. Have a good night.
I have no further comments at this time. On to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes from the June 23rd council meeting, accounts payable, investment report, revenue expenditure, and balance sheet reports?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
McEwen,
Yes.
Schoenberg. Yes. Stanfield,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Schulte.
Yes. Okay, move on to reports. First up is the police report. I know Deputy Allen has returned to duty. I believe he intended to be here this evening, but I see a note that he is at training, so he'll be here for the July 21st meeting. So I encourage the council to read his report, and hopefully we get a live report from him next meeting. Brings us to the DPW report.
Month of June, we did our hydrant flow testing. That's part of our water system reliability study. The testing went well. I'm still waiting on results. The numbers that I seen during the testing though, our water system's flowing a lot of water, so we're looking good there. Misdigs, again, put them in if you're doing any digging. And please do not remove flags that are in your yard. Again, call or email to report any potholes. We try to stay on top of them. Our water tower maintenance is done. I just received the report yesterday. Water tower is looking good. Probably in the next 2 to 3 years, we're gonna have to look into doing some more preventative maintenance on it. Worry about that next year though for our budgets coming up. Truck and equipment repairs ongoing as always. We did get our slope mower back, so we were out mowing the hills with it today. Road patches are done. Thanks to the public for being patient while the work was done. Got a lot of comments on them, so happy for that. And the new stop signs are up on North Main Street. They seem to be having a very good effect on slowing the drivers down. I got a lot of comments from the homeowners up in that area, so again, thanks to council for approving that. And that's about all we got for June.
Any questions from the council for Ryan? Okay, thank you. Next is the clerk treasurer report. Jessica?
Joe from Michigan Rural Water Association finished up the water rate study and said we looked good. We look to be in good shape and don't need to raise the rates this year. There's possibility next year. We have already scheduled him to come back next year so he can let us know if we are still on track with our rates. We have started the audit prep process, and our timeline is to have the draft presented at the last August meeting. Taxes have gone out in the mail the last full week of June. The due date is September 15th this year, since the 14th falls on a weekend. Carolyn has been looking to training companies so that we can appropriately dispose of documents per the state of Michigan records retention laws and regulations. We will have closed the council as soon as possible. We will be starting to build a records retention program once we watch some training videos and get some policies in place. Most of the stuff is from the state, so we're trying to follow their guidelines.
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions from the council? None? Awesome. We do not have to raise water rates this year. Next is the DDA report. Josh, do you care to say anything about DDA stuff?
Yeah, we have, as you can see, the Ford building finally has the windows in it. We're waiting on the garage doors and the other windows on the west side. Those should be within the next 2 weeks. Hopefully we'll have the architectural plans next week, and then we'll be going out to bid to finish that project up. Other than that, that's pretty much all I got right now.
Okay. Any questions from the council for the WDDA chairman? Seeing none. So the building zoning report, Emily, did you have anything to say in regards to the report? I know Jim puts that together, but.
Yeah, Jim puts that together. I asked him if he had any insights to share, and he said nothing this month, but
Okay.
I'll report back next month if there's any trends or anything to be aware of. So,
Excellent, thank you.
thank you.
Any questions from the council for Emily? None? So NISA report.
We've been very busy. I know that 4 fire runs this last month in May, because we're a month behind. We had a total of 71, and that brings our total calls up to 383 for the year so far. Just for the village, we're at 29 for the year, and last year we had a total of 64, so that's almost half. So I'm on track there, and everything's going good. No problems. So that's all I have.
Excellent. Any questions for Sandra about NISA? Move on to the attorney report.
Last time I was here, there was a conversation was had that a counteroffer to be submitted to White Rose regarding the pending matter in the Michigan State Court of Appeals. I relayed the terms of the offer to White Rose's attorney, Eldori. Did not hear back. In the meantime, White Rose, it's a little challenging. White Rose at the moment, I believe, is maybe represented by 2 different attorneys. We have Eldori, who appeared here last, who's relatively new to the case, and then we have Camorn, who's been a part of this matter from the very beginning. And I received correspondence from what I believe to be an associate, Camorn, since our last meeting that I attended, so a month ago, asking that we consider mediation, which is a little out of sync for things, given that we're already this far down the line. Usually, you try to take a mediation or arbitration in advance of litigation to avoid the expense, right? But they want to do mediation now, so just out of professional courtesy, I called this man back and I said, I'm a little torn. I don't know if I can truly take it directly from you, because we have this other attorney, Baldoria, coming to the meetings with Jay Rittman. Please clarify your position, or have somebody provide me some proof that what you say is worth considering. Not to be rude, there's multiple people in this thing now. And he seemed rather surprised that there was another attorney involved, Baldori, and that he was going to go reach out to Camorn and to White Rose, Jay Rittman, and then follow back around. I have not heard any since. So to date on the White Rose matter, it's still pending in the State of Appeals, the Michigan State Court of Appeals. By the terms of our offer, it's effectively been rejected because the timeline was part of one of the terms. And as far as any new development, potential mediation or something, or some alternative route to resolve this matter, I haven't heard any more. So that's where we're at with that matter. And I have no forecast as to when the Michigan State Court of Appeals will provide us an answer, so it's still in limbo. If I assume, for the fact that there was silence as to the terms offered, if the council is so inclined to reevaluate and come up with another set of terms, I'm all ears. It's your prerogative. I would probably suggest it be again in closed session if we were to do that. I think what other matter? That's really the only real pending matter I can think off the top of my head unless anyone has any questions.
last offer from them was through Valdori, right?
It was.
There's been one offers from two different,
Well, yeah, an offer from Baldori, and then we countered.
right, but the previous offer was from the other lord.
No, that was from, it's always been from Baldori.
Okay.
Yep, and there seemed, even going back to the initial offer from their side, I'm not certain that Morton knew of that offer.
Okay.
And it's been one of the problems I've had. My fear is that we would commit to, even if the council was so inclined to take one, we say yes to one guy, and the other guy goes, oh, see, they're willing to take that, just say no.
Yeah.
I mean, a little tongue in cheek, that's the concern I have. So
Right.
it's on them to tell us who truly is at the helm on this matter.
Any other questions for Scott? Okay, move on. Next would be engineer reports. I heard from Bruce earlier today that there's no updates to be given on any engineering projects, so he's absent this evening. So that brings us to advocate reports. Anything from the council to report? Okay. Then we will move on to new business. First up is the 725 North Main Street zoning and lot split. So I believe Emily, you'll be presenting McKenna's recommendation on this.
Yes, thank you. So the property owners of 725 North Main Street previously requested a lot, put in an application for a lot split, which we discussed when I was here last month. When we were doing the review for the lot split, we discovered that the parcels were split zoned, so the resulting lot split would result in two parcels that are partially zoned R1A and R1B. So to resolve any lot split issues and split zoning issues, we recommend that the village council approve a rezoning for the parcels to R1A to eliminate those split zoning concerns. Looking at the criteria for rezoning, as far as the comparisons between the R1A and R1B district, they are almost identical, except for R1B allows two-family dwellings in addition to the permitted uses and special land uses for R1A. The dimensional requirements are otherwise exactly the same. Due to that difference, we would recommend that the parcels be zoned R1A. Reviewing consistency with the master plan. So these two parcels this parcel was not included in the village's current master plan future land use map. So that's something in the update that we'll make sure is taken care of, that those parcels are added into the future land use map. But the adjacent Leroy Township future land use map has these parcels designated as recreation due more likely to the presence of the golf course there. But currently the lots that are zoned in this recreation category, Parks and Recreation category, are residential currently. So while the Parks and Rec category in the master plan intends to preserve the golf course, rezoning the resulting parcels to R1A limits the types of development that could take place on these parcels. So the intent of the future land use category is still being preserved by rezoning to R1A, which is the less intense of the two districts that it's currently zoned. So the physical compatibility with permitted uses in the zoning district and surrounding uses. The lot currently contains a single family home, and the resulting split would result in a lot with the existing single family home and a adjacent vacant lot. And there's no physical constraints that would prevent the use of those parcels as what it's currently being used for. Compatibility with surrounding uses. So currently all of these existing land uses adjacent to the subject parcel are single family homes in nature or the golf course. They're all labeled as Parks and Recreation, the future land use map. So, although the future land uses, for parks and recreation, the, existing parcels are residential in nature, so rezoning to R1A would be consistent with the surrounding area.
For a residential home,
I'm sorry?
for a residential home to be built? Is that what you're saying?
For the lots, so the lot split would result in a lot with the current existing single-family home and a vacant lot.
Well, I'm talking about the vacant lot.
Okay.
If that's broken off, the existing lot
Mhm.
with the home, are you saying they want to put or build a house on that existing lot right there?
They haven't indicated what they're going to do with that lot, as far as I mean, they certainly would
But it would
likely
be
be
zoned-
able to.
It would be zoned residential?
It would be zoned R1A, yes.
Okay.
That's what we would recommend anyways, McKenna would recommend. I'm sorry, I just lost my train of thought a little bit. But, so we think that the rezoning would be, would be compatible with surrounding existing land uses, and meets the intent of the future land use category. And R1A would be the most appropriate zoning district in our opinion, if a rezoning was granted. And lastly, we don't expect that the rezoning would result in infrastructure capacity issues, because the most intense use that the parcel could be used for is another single family home. So the village's infrastructure capacity is not expected to be exceeded. So with that in mind, we would recommend that the village council rezone the subject parcels to R1A to keep the area consistent with surrounding development. And that's everything about the rezoning. I can answer questions about the rezoning first and move into the lot split, or I can go through and explain the lot split information, whatever you prefer.
I have no questions. Does the council? No?
Well, I'll move into the lot split itself, and then we can go from there. So again, the applicant has submitted a application to split their parcel at 725 North Main Street into two different parcels that are, a little bit less than an acre in size. So the resulting two parcels would both have road frontage. They would both meet the dimensional requirements in the R1A zoning district. So there aren't any issues with if a lot split was approved, the lot wouldn't be able to meet zoning requirements. It would be a buildable lot upon the split. Because there's no zoning concerns and there's frontage along North Main Street for both parcels, we would recommend that the lot split be approved by village council. Are there any questions about the lot split itself?
I don't believe so.
No. Well, McKenna would recommend the village council approve both the rezoning of the parcel to R1A as well as the lot split. So if there's any questions, otherwise the village council is welcome to consider that recommendation.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
I also believe that the property owners are here this evening. I'll open it up if you guys want to say anything on the matter or.
That's a rezoning, that's the question. The back half of this property is a different zone, it's the R2 zone.
Correct.
The front half is the R1 zoning. So it's basically cleaning up the zoning map.
Correct.
It's not like half the lot has frontage on R2 and half is on R1. It's just how your master plan will get it out.
Correct.
It was my understanding from one planner I talked to, it's an approvable split, it's a buildable split the way it is, but this cleans up your guys' map, makes it nice and tight.
That's correct.
Yep. Yep, now everything will just be low residential zoning.
Correct.
Other comments from the council or the affected parties? We'll do these one at a time here. So I recommend to the council that we approve to rezone 725 North Main Street to be fully within the R1A zoning district to eliminate split zoning concerns and approve the lot split per the McKenna recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Tequila?
Yes.
Schulberg? Yes. Stanfield?
Yes.
Walter?
Yeah.
Schultz?
Yes. All right, that was actually all on that, so. Zoning changed and lot split approved.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay, next up is the zoning amendments for accessory buildings and donation bins.
All right, thank you. In June, we discussed potential zoning ordinance text amendments for accessory building heights and donation bins. So just starting with accessory building heights, the changes that you see were recommended feedback from you guys from June. So you indicated that you felt that it would be most appropriate for accessory building heights to either match the allowable height for the principal building and just have that clarified in the zoning ordinance text, or have a height of 150% of the existing principal building to allow smaller homes to construct something like a pole barn without it being so much bigger than the principal structure. So on page 2 of that memorandum, the draft zoning ordinance amendment, sub-item number 4, you can see in red, we implemented that feedback. So it allows accessory buildings to be no taller than 150% of the existing principal building on the lot, or the maximum allowable height for the principal buildings in the zoning district, whichever is shorter. And then there's a way for properties in the M1 district to exceed the maximum height by special land use permit if the village council determines that that additional height is necessary for a proposed use that would be permitted on that site. So that is everything as far as accessory building height. Does anyone have any questions about this language?
So like if we have buildings in the downtown area and they want to add something, it can't be higher than the existing building.
Yes, if they are building an accessory building, so an accessory building is not always, but typically detached, and it's like a subordinate building, like something like a shed or commercial, outdoor storage. So those would be not able to be taller than the existing principal structure, just so that building heights can be maintained. And the accessory structure, which is supposed to be subordinate, is not like 3 times as high as the principal structure.
Or I think what we discussed too is, like you said earlier, 150%. So I think there's 2 different language adoptions. The council has to decide on one of either limiting the accessory structure to be no higher than the principal building or up to 150%. So if your principal building is 10 feet tall, your accessory structure cannot exceed 15 feet tall.
So how this language is written, it allows, so there's both options, and we have to go with whatever one is shorter. How the zoning ordinance is currently implemented, there's no clarifying language on accessory building height, so it's been interpreted that the accessory building can be the maximum height for the district, but no taller. So this clarifies what the accessory building, the height that it can be, but also provide, having these 2 different options provides, it allows us to make like context specific decisions, and whatever is best in this context, you know, whichever is shorter, that's the height limit that they'd have to abide by. If the village council thinks it would be better to just select one option or the other option, either have it 150% of the principal building or the max for the zoning district, you know, we can definitely implement that. But the way it's written currently, this suggested language, it allows for both options, and whatever ends up with the shorter height is the option that would need to be pursued by the applicant.
Mike, I know you were outspoken and had some opinions on this. What are your thoughts?
I wasn't outspoken, I was just trying to clarify that when a person has a hole in their yard and they want to build a building.
Sure.
But.
Well, I guess, which language makes more sense to you?
The 150% makes sense because not everybody's gonna go that height, but they have that option if it fits the parcel. In my mind, that's how I'm looking at it. It fits the parcel and it works, then it can go there. But if it, for some reason, but I guess there's gotta be clarified what the reason would be why it couldn't go.
Right.
And I'm thinking of individuals, if they have the room and they want to build like a pole barn.
I tend to agree with that. Sandra, Deborah?
I agree.
Okay. Am I missing something in the packet? Was there amended language specific to the accessory building height? Oh, you know what? I put that in my discard file already.
Yep, so on, it's like page 38 of the entire packet, page 2 of the accessory building heights.
I see that
memo.
now.
So currently, so for example, like in R1A, I believe the maximum building height is 35 feet.
Yep.
So currently, I mean, so an accessory structure can't go higher than 35 feet, and this language clarifies that. But let's say that there's a home that's, I don't know, 15 feet currently existing on the lot. By having this kind of either or option, we'd have to go with 150% of the existing building, which would be like 18 feet, I think. My math is right. So considering that, if you feel like, and I don't know the typical height for a pole barn, but if you feel like that 150% would limit, you know, someone being able to put a pole barn in their backyard, you know, that's something to think about. And you could just have the clarifying language, and it's the maximum allowable height for principal buildings in the district, and leave it there. But the 150% does allow for like context specific structures where you're not having like a giant honking tall building on a single family lot with a, you know, a 12-foot house or whatever the case may be.
Okay. I like the 150% language. I think it allows some reasonable flexibility there. Generally, sheds are fairly short, so it's not going to run into an issue. Pole barns, garages, at a minimum, are probably going to be 12 feet from peak of the roof to finished grade, generally. Okay. And then, I guess, any other comments before we talk about the donation bins, the questions? This motion will apply to both of those language changes.
Don't want any more.
I know.
Okay, well, we can, I just want to clarify, so do we want to keep the language currently as I've suggested it with the either or option of 150 feet, or the max height of the principal building for the zoning district, whatever is shorter?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, with that, we can move on to donation bins. Alrighty. So this memo implements some of the suggestions you had from the June meeting. So there's clarifying language on grandfathering and what would be grandfathered in versus, you know, what would not be grandfathered in. It requires, so for the maintenance requirements, there was a suggestion that the property owner is the contact for the maintenance requirements. Jim asked if we could include language that requires a local contact within 20 miles of the donation bin to be listed for maintenance purposes, because from my understanding from him, like with the Dollar General bins, he's had issues contacting the property owner to get them serviced and things like that. So that by requiring a local contact within 20 miles, that helps ensure that there's someone that you can actually call to come maintain the bin or empty it or whatever needs to be done. And last, there was the recommendation to remove M1 from the permitted districts where a donation bin would be allowed, so that has been removed. Are there any questions about the updated language?
So, not really a question, more of a comment, is with the maintenance requirements. I know we've discussed this, and I guess what I would like to see the language reflect is that rather than a local contact be listed and responsible for the maintenance, the property owner be responsible for it.
Okay.
Because generally, many times these organizations operate far outside that 20-mile limit, and that's why they're usually in messes, because they're hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So if the property owner is held responsible for the maintenance, it gives us a little bit more of a direct line of contact for resolving those issues more quickly.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly make that change. So the local contact was specifically at Jim's request, because I understand like he has plenty of issues reaching the property owner for the Dollar General donation bins. So that's why that was implemented. Do we want to get rid of the local contact in its entirety, or just require a local contact on the permit application and have the property owner listed on the maintenance box itself to contact? Or would you like to do it the other way around, have the property owner on the permit application and have the local contact listed on the bin for maintenance concerns? Because my understanding, I do hear Jim's concern that he's currently unable to, or has a lot of difficulty reaching property owners, or at least the specific property owner for the donation bin maintenance and servicing. So whatever the village council would like to do, but I just want to make that clarification.
What about both of them?
Yeah, I was just going to say,
Okay.
property owner and or a local contact.
Okay.
Local being less than 20 miles, does that make sense?
Okay. I think that sounds good. We can certainly make that change.
Any other questions or comments for donation bins? Are we council prepared to vote on this? Okay. Well, I would recommend that the council approve the zoning amendments for accessory buildings, donation bins, per McKenna's recommendations as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Yes.
Schoenberg? Yes. Stanfield?
Yes.
Walter? Schultz?
Yes. Okay. So that brings us to the zoning amendment regarding setbacks.
Okay, thank you. So for accessory building setbacks, Currently, the zoning ordinance requires all accessory structures to maintain a minimum side and rear yard setback of 4 feet from the side and rear property lines. In the village core mixed use district, this provision causes some conflict because the village core district allows the principal structure to maintain a setback that's equal to the principal structure abutting the lot line, which as a result ends up with setbacks of 0, as they're all these principal buildings are right next to each other. So as a result, it makes it difficult for property owners in this district to have, when they want to add something like an outdoor patio or something, they have these additional setback requirements for their accessory structure of 4 feet from each property line when the principal building itself doesn't have those setbacks. So to resolve that conflicting language, we have some recommended language. So on page 2, in the supplementary use regulations for accessory buildings, sub-item number 3B, it adds the language that excludes lots in the village core district. It excludes them from the requirement of having to keep the accessory structure 4 feet from the side or lot lines. So by doing that, it would allow the accessory structure setbacks in the village core district to match the principal building setbacks. And this would resolve some issues with things like outdoor dining and other accessory structures that business owners would like to implement in the village core district. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I'm a little confused about that. So what you're saying is you want us to allow them to go up to that 4-foot line? What about emergency vehicles if they need to get in there?
Well,
What about garbage trucks that need to get in there? What about delivery trucks that need to get in there? It's going to be a tight space.
so for the it's not something that like goes out into the road. It's not like setbacks. It's from the side and rear property lines. So it's setbacks from those property lines that aren't fronting the road. So I'm not sure how it would affect emergency vehicles. I don't expect that it would.
I'm not talking about the front. The frontage, we're going to have access.
Yeah.
But the side and the rear, say an alley, or the alley behind the Ford building,
So the alley,
up to the Moo-Hoo.
the alley wouldn't change. Currently, the setbacks between the buildings is essentially 0. I mean, there's literally buildings that share a brick wall is the property line.
Okay.
So this would just make it so that way the language for accessory structures is the same setback
Correct.
within that private property.
So say for instance that somebody has back end onto this alley
Mm-hmm.
and they want to put up a storage unit or whatever, like, they don't have to have it 4 foot from their actual connecting wall. They can have it right up to the wall because there is no setback.
Okay.
There's not enough space, right?
Yeah, and I talked to Chris about this a couple of weeks ago, and really I think this was an oversight that until it was pointed out that this is conflicting, Chris made the good point, which is the intent of adopting this ordinance was that the village core would have side and rear setbacks of 0. It's just nobody in the village core has tried to build an accessory structure since we adopted it. So now that this is coming to light, this is just to clear up the language to make it match the original intent of adopting this ordinance.
So it's like if a downtown business wants to grow, they can't grow out the front, and they have room to grow out the back, and they want to do something out the back. This allows them to do that.
Right. If they
Okay,
wanted
I
to do
understand
something
that,
like
With doing that, there needs to be maintained access, garbage trucks, delivery trucks.
So
Cars in the alley.
as far as that goes, if if a public utility service like trash or emergency vehicles, if they're utilizing private property to access that, that's not something that they should be doing. You know, the perfect example is the waste disposal company uses the alleyway. They should not be entering private property in order to pick up trash. They should be using an appropriate vehicle and trash receptacle placement such that they're not going onto private property to make that collection. So we're not making the alley any more restricted by any means. It's still going to be fully accessible as designed and intended.
It's just virtually the side property lines and the back, but the back setback is still gotta be whatever has to be off the center of the road. That doesn't change.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
So, Emily, did you have any other points about the language in there?
I don't think so, yeah, it's just the principal setback, although in this district, essentially, like, side setbacks are 0. But, so this language allows for, it meets that intent for the village core district of allowing accessory structures like an outdoor patio to not have additional side setback restrictions that otherwise they wouldn't have if it were the principal building or an expansion of the principal building. They wouldn't have those same requirements. So by clarifying this language and ensuring that accessory structure setbacks are, match what the principal structure will be, it meets the intent of the village core district of making a more vibrant downtown area, more walkable area, while still, maintaining principal building setbacks, and so things like trash access, emergency vehicle access wouldn't be affected.
Thank you, Emily. Is there any other questions from the council on this topic? If not, I would recommend to the council that we approve the zoning amendment regarding accessory structure setbacks in the BC district, per McKenna's recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
McEwen?
Yes.
Schoenberg?
Yes.
Stanfield?
Yes.
Walter?
No.
Schulte?
Yes. Okay, Emily, you're still in the hot seat.
All right.
The master plan update.
Yes. All right. So as you all know, we had a community survey open for the master plan that was open from May 19th until June 30th. We received 26 responses during the survey period. So this memorandum goes through, some of the, I think, especially important questions that we got really good data on in the survey. The key takeaways that we found was that Webberville residents largely felt that the current housing stock met its needs, but they expressed a desire to see a larger diversity in the housing sizes. So not necessarily the types of housing, like, oh, we need more apartments instead of single-family homes, but more like a diversity in sizes to support the needs of different types of household sizes and families. So we saw a lot of folks express that they want to see more smaller sizes, like single-family home units, for example, for young couples or growing families, as well as some more medium-sized units. But folks felt like there were a lot of large-sized single-family homes, and having a greater diversity in housing sizes might be a great way to attract more diverse household sizes in Webberville. Second, survey respondents currently do not utilize Webberville's existing parks and recreation system, and they wanted to improve existing parks and recreation by expanding walking infrastructure and having more planned activities in the village's parks. Respondents felt that downtown Webberville and Webberville Business Park were important for the economic vitality of the community, but wanted to see some additional business options to support commercial areas, like more retail options or grocery stores. Redevelopment sites that were listed by respondents tended to be focused in the downtown area. Respondents were evenly mixed on if they wanted to see more non-motorized transportation access. Given that over a third of respondents selected yes, that they do want to see more non-motorized transportation access, and another almost 30% of folks wanted to see sidewalks where they don't currently exist. Looking at ways to expand non-motorized transportation may be one of many reasonable goals to consider for the transportation section of the master plan. So those are the key takeaways. If you have any questions about particular questions in here, I'm happy to answer. Also, if you're interested in the full set of survey responses that we received, just feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to send you that data. But from here, I'll be using this information from the survey to draft some of the content and add to some of the master plan content and update it. So at the August 12th meeting, which will be the next master plan discussion, I'll have a first draft on transportation and future land use chapters that we can discuss together, and we'll have a discussion and activity on updating the goals and objectives for the master plan. So does anyone have any questions on the survey or next steps for the master plan?
I think the survey results are very interesting.
Aren't they? They're pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it aligns with a lot of some of the thoughts and discussions that have been had, not just on the council, but on the DDA as well. So that's good. Any questions from the council on the master plan update? Well, thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
That was a lot of talking.
Oh, that's all good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we will move on to the employee handbook discussion. So this is yet another modification that I would propose that we make to the handbook, particularly around our vacation policy for employees. I believe that this is severely outdated. We do have a number of employees now who are generally affected by this outdated policy. So in tonight's packet, I've included the current vacation allotments based on length of service, as outlined in the current manual, and what I would propose the village council adopts. Of course, with this taking effect on July 14th would be this following Monday. So really the biggest change is right now for employees with less than 1 year of service, they do not have any vacation. It's only granted by the president, and it's unpaid. 1 to 2 years of service is 5 days, 2 to 9 years is 10 days, 10 to 19 years is 15, and 20 years plus is 20 days. So what I'm recommending is that post the 90-day probational period, up to 5 years would be 10 days. That's pretty standard for most employers these days to offer 2 weeks paid vacation for employees. Then 6 to 10 years would be 15 days or 3 weeks, and 11 to 15 plus years would be 4 weeks or 20 days. So really just affecting those employees who don't have as many years of service. We have quite a few of those. So with that said, part of this recommendation would be that upon adopting this, if done so, that the additional vacation days will be prorated from July 14th to the employee's normal vacation renewal date, which is their anniversary of hiring. So an example would be if an employee has served 6 months, under the current policy, they would receive 0 vacation time. Upon approval of the proposed changes, said employee would automatically receive 5 days of vacation for the remainder of their current vacation cycle. Upon hitting their anniversary date, their total vacation 10 days.
When we had talked about handbook changes last time, we talked about something similar to this, if I'm not mistaken.
We did have this discussion under the previous presidency,
Correct.
and the motion did not carry.
Correct.
So you basically want to reward a new employee that is not here a year yet with vacation days.
That's generally pretty standard, and
Where is it standard?
My job, after 90 days, you get a week.
Okay, that's a grocery store.
Home health places, it,
Home health places.
it is.
90 days.
Yep,
They just changed it not too long ago.
Okay.
they're doing it to, like, say thank you, thank you for coming here, staying here, way to retain employees. It's becoming a common thing nowadays.
Mm.
I would say overall right now, we have a very strong team, both in the DPW and the village offices. Generally, it's a lot easier to incentivize those to stay than it is to replace people. So this is really about employee retention. I would hate to lose any of our valued talent at this point over something as small as a couple of days of vacation here and there. So that would be my recommendation. I mean, there's not a motion out there right now, but I'm happy to hear thoughts, concerns, or if the length of service or number of days ought to be modified. I'm open to suggestions.
I would change it to the first year you only get 5. 2 to 5, you can get 10. I mean, you're getting a bonus because of your first year you didn't have anything by what you have right now.
Okay.
So I think a year, first year employee, 1 week is fair.
So we'll say up to 1 year is 5 days, and then 2 to 5 years would be 10.
No,
Okay.
not a big change, but it's,
You have any
That's
wording,
appropriate.
any wording in there about an employee that's on probation? So like they're on their 90-day probationary period, are they still entitled to vacation days, or?
This would take effect for people who have completed their 90-day probation period.
why, you coming off probation pretty soon?
I'm gonna try,
Your 90 days are up.
striving for that.
Well, 90 days.
That's the only change that I would recommend.
Okay. So I would recommend to the council that we approve the vacation policy updates as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
McEwen,
Yes.
Schoenberg,
Yes.
Gensler,
Yes.
Walter,
No.
Schulte.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. I wrote some amendments there in case you didn't catch it. Okay. Next is the police contract discussion. So real quick history, we are currently under contract with Ingham County Sheriff for 80 hours of policing in our community, additional to already serving the community in the county. About 18 months ago, we signed a renewal of that contract. It was a 2-year contract with a 3rd-year renewal, so at the end of this year, we will need to decide whether or not we renew that for a 3rd year. The cost of that is anticipated to go up 5%. Really the reason why I brought this to the council's attention this week, because there are no secrets here and full transparency. I have been in contact with the Williamston City Planner and Chief of Police. They have now, fortunately, fully staffed their department, and there is available talent that could enter the workforce. So having discussions with them about mirroring our current service contract with the county.
Can you speak up, please?
Yes. So in discussion with the Williamston City Planner and Chief of Police, they feel that by the end of this year, they would be able to be in a position to offer us a similar contract of service at a much more affordable price than the county. So nothing has been proposed proposed. I know that this will be going forward in front of the Williamston City Council for consideration, but I wanted to inform our council that in case they happen to hear anything or see anything, not wondering why the Williamston police cars were in the area. We did conduct a meeting, it was overall very positive, so this is very preliminary. Nothing's changing right now, but my
It's
hope.
not that it's been preliminary, you and Mr. Rock, you've been thinking about this for over a year now,
Saving the village money, I think about that every day.
about wanting to go in, enroll into Williamston, and at first Williamston said no. Haven't we tried this stuff before?
Yeah.
Hasn't, and it didn't work out so well for Webberville. This is why we got the contract with the new county.
We've
You
never,
weren't here, Sam.
we've never partnered with Williamston on this. And the only reason why it fell apart is the Williamston police chief admitted, he said, my door is open, I'd love to be able to discuss that, but he didn't have the staffing to be able to support it.
Well, why don't we put it out to the residents and the taxpayers of Webberville? If they agree with this, then so be it.
Yeah,
But everybody's got to get a voice in this.
we can certainly conduct a public hearing. It's, like I said, there's not even a draft proposal on the table at this point. It's purely discussion.
What are our hours of duty right now with Lincoln County?
80 hours a week.
If they split that up as they can be here, or is there a lot of times that they're supposed to be here?
There is some flexibility that the individual deputies have. We have 2 deputies that have been assigned to the village. You know, obviously they have personal lives, they take vacation, sometimes shifts move around, but generally that schedule is not posted. People know when the cops are on duty or not.
But I mean, is there times when they're here till 11 o'clock at night?
Yes, that's part of the reason why we have 80 hours, is so that way we do have both day and nighttime coverage. Doesn't get, 2 people doesn't give us 24/7, obviously, but it's better than nothing. Is it nothing to vote on? Just wanted to inform everybody what's going on. So next is the snow removal resolution. Last meeting, we had discussed adopting via a resolution recognizing the village's desire or feeling that we are, as the village, are responsible for snow removal in the village downtown area. So we have drafted up the resolution to be adopted. I did put some language in there specifying the areas that will be cleared. So that would be the north side of Grand River, from the west side of the bridge near Elm Street to the main entrance of the Webberville School, the south side of Grand River from the west side of the bridge near Elm Street to Clark Street, the quote Four Corners intersection at Main Street and Grand River Avenue, North Main Street on the west side from Grand River to Cherry Street, North Main Street, the east side from Grand River Avenue to the elementary school entrance, and South Main Street, both east and west side from Grand River to Chestnut, which on the east side we're already obligated to do because that's in front of the village offices. So that would be the area to be covered. I discussed that with Ryan. He felt that that was appropriate and matches with what has historically been done prior to the village losing equipment to be able to provide that service for the downtown area. So, any questions or comments from the council on that? If not, recommend that we approve resolution 2025-10 regarding the snow removal ordinance clarification.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Midgewood,
Yes.
Schoenberg,
Yes.
Stanfield,
Yes.
Walter. Here. Colby.
Yes. Okay. I look forward to discussions about what equipment we'll need to buy for that. I know Ryan's already started looking into it. I'm sure probably next meeting or there soon thereafter, we'll have some proposals as to what we need to get there. So this brings us to our last two items, which are about the Johnny Gringo's Restaurant. I think I brought this up last meeting as well, which is we have now passed the deadline for the agreement that the village entered with Johnny Gringo's regarding a temporary certificate of occupancy that was contingent upon putting up a 6-foot privacy fence along the southern property line, as well as being locked in with a paving contractor to have paving of that parking lot completed by October, I believe it was. So those deadlines have passed. So it's going to be a council decision as to how to proceed. I invited that business owner to our meeting 2 weeks ago, to which he did not show. He had expressed to me that he felt as though the agreement was unfair. He's not here to argue his case, but the village is going to have to, the council is going to have to decide whether or not we revoke that temporary certificate of occupancy. It's in clear violation of the agreement that was set. Or if there's an alternative agreement that we want to try to strike with the business owner, or just say, screw it, give him the full CO.
Did he respond to Jessica's email?
So he's not here
He did show up 2 weeks ago.
to even like argue for his case.
No. And I will point out too that the last item on our agenda this evening is the request for approval for a liquor license from the local government. So that establishment wants to apply for a liquor license. It needs the local government approval as part of the, what's the word? Yeah, part of the Liquor Control Board process for obtaining a new license. So us, if we were to approve that, does not give him one. It's just part of the paperwork that he needs to supply to the state in order for them to consider giving him one. So as part of the discussion as to what to do with the temporary CO, I feel as though that's relevant information as well.
So what would happen if the temporary occupancy gets revoked? They have to move out to lay,
Yep.
fix everything?
If the council were to revoke it, Jim Wright would be down there Monday morning red tagging the building.
Before I say anything, is Ken.
Yeah, so, council member Stanfield brought up to me a potential conflict of interest that's well within her duty and obligation as a council member. Research the matter. I'll let her divulge as to what she believes the conflict is, and then I'll provide the reasons for why her explanation, I believe, is a legitimate explanation. So if you want to go ahead.
Sure. My daughter waitress is there. And so I approached our attorney because I didn't want to go ahead and vote on something and have it come back on council. So before I said anything or made a vote, I wanted to ask prior.
And so by way of rules for proceedings before the village council, 30-03, subsection E. The chief, I'm sorry, subsection B, all proceedings brought before the village council by officers of the village council trustees, the president or members of the public shall be done so pursuant to the provisions of the latest edition of Robert's Rules of Order. So then when I look to Robert's Rules of Order, voting procedure, it's like section 45, right of abstention. To paraphrase, if you have an interest in the vote, you're allowed to abstain. That is the most current edition that I'm aware of. I believe we've been going by that. I will say I've seen other municipalities, just for thinking in the future, if the council is so inclined to consider it, oftentimes councils will obligate a vote in advance of the council to where the council members would have to vote to allow her to abstain. And the reason is just to validate the abstention, because otherwise you don't want to get in the situation of the council is where everyone maybe you have a contentious issue, you just don't want your name associated with something. You do have a duty, and you're charged with that duty by the public to vote. I mean, that's why you're here, it's a representative government. So, this is not to be taken lightly. I do believe that she has a concern that's legitimate. If there's any reservation of the remaining council members, I would suggest a vote to allow her to abstain. If you believe her explanation is legitimate, I think it probably is. You don't have to ask that of her, but you may want to consider such a procedure into the future to just provide clarification. Hope I didn't muddy the water for you.
No, I mean, Lon, I really appreciate you bringing this forward. It's very honorable to be that forthcoming. And Scott, I appreciate the clarification on it. So I guess before any further discussion, you see it as appropriate for us to have that vote currently, or would that be a procedural change just down the road?
I think it could be a procedural change down the road. This,
Okay.
in this particular case, there's not a definite pecuniary interest at hand here. But in the future, I've seen it in other municipalities where you have a contentious issue and someone will maybe try and find the conflict to avoid the situation. And the problem with that is then it stalls government. I mean, sometimes as representative government officials, you have to make decisions that are not fun. And you just want to make sure everyone's pulling their weight in this way. So in this particular case, I think you're fine to allow her to abstain without an official vote, but the council may want to consider a formal directive on this very issue in the future.
Okay, thank you. So I guess with all that said, back to the task at hand. I guess my opinion on the matter with Johnny Gringo's is the business seems to be doing well. It seems to be that there are patrons from the community and surrounding areas. While I understand and full-heartedly agree that we do need to abide by the agreements that the council makes, it could be a pretty significant black eye for the village, not just as a council, but economically to hold the CO from this business. I'm inclined to try to make one more attempt to contact the property owner and perhaps renegotiate those terms to maybe something that's more amendable. That's just my opinion. It's a pretty hard choice to
It is.
pull the rug out from underneath the business that's been open for 6 months.
Yeah, we don't
Right.
need another empty building.
No. Now, on the other hand, you have to look at this, before they moved in and started this business, they agreed to the terms that said, this is what they're gonna provide to get their full occupancy.
Yep.
So do we just extend it every time that they don't do what they agreed to? It's kind of like the other half of that. I would not want to see them go, but
Can't have them keep moving forward.
exactly. If you're gonna say, okay, well, this is what we agreed to, then you have to work at making that agreement stick.
Right.
But they don't have to do the driveway until October, correct? It's basically
It's just
the
the
fence.
privacy.
They were supposed to actually by May 1st inform the council that they had a contractor lined up to complete the paving by October. He's not done that. Really, the biggest deadline that's since passed is the fence. Now, I think that there's potentially a compromise here, which is understanding that paving is extraordinarily expensive and realistically, there's other businesses in the immediate area that do not have paved parking lots, albeit not necessarily in the village boundaries. But perhaps if the council is so inclined, and Mr. Johnny Gringo's is that we forgo the paving and just make the fence the requirement.
So he wants something from us, we want something from him.
Yep.
So you give him 30 days to get his fence erected, and you'll turn paperwork in for him or approve the paperwork.
For the liquor license?
Yep.
That, the constant's taken care of. And I don't know, where we stand with that, Scott, legally. But, hey, we can't approve, moving forward on the liquor license if you're out of compliance with the agreement with MCL.
I mean, there's no doubt if he had beer, wine, liquor, it would probably help his business.
No doubt.
There's no doubt in my mind about that. But you've been in there for however many months now, and you haven't even put a fence post up yet. And you knew that that day was coming. So you could have that fence up in a week. So, I mean,
There's also the other downstream effects, which is if we were to approve the liquor license under some condition, and the state were then to grant him that, it would allow the village to finally enact the use of the social district, which also then benefits the village economically as well as other businesses in town.
sure.
So, that said, I guess we want to table it until we contact Mr. Devine and see if he's amenable to those terms of forgoing paving and, getting the fence up.
Not foregoing paving, you still have to have it done by that date, but we're not going to press the issue because you don't have a contractor yet.
And if you want our approval on liquor license, get the fence up.
If I may, just on the legal side of things, kind of forecasting what could come of this if it gets ugly, so to say. Although I think the council's in the right of every step up to this point, and I think you'd be in the right to say, no, you breached the deal, the terms that you agreed to, the terms of which he freely negotiated in a public forum. I mean, none of it was, it was open, and it was terms that he thought he could do. But without relinquishing our position on what I'll call a contract or an agreement, there's, in my mind, what I've seen through the courts is it will put you in a better spot if you put yourself with a final notice to this individual, a letter, maybe do a certified letter, maybe even have it personally delivered to him to his doorstep. I mean, to pay a processor, hand it to him and say, and in that letter say, look, it's our belief that you're in breach of all these terms. The consensus of the council, and I don't want to speak for it, is that you're in breach and we are considering our final position of revoking the COO. However, we're demanding your attendance at the next council meeting, at the very least, to explain what is going on. And if you don't, because that's one of the problems, you're not even coming here and saying, look, I'm blowing the timelines. My business is so busy, I can't, I'm stretched. Give us something, but radio silence is not fair to you guys either.
Yep. So, is that something, Scott, that you would be able to draft and then potentially put forward to council for approval on the language of that letter for next meeting?
Yeah, or, I could put that letter together pretty straightforward, just, even from what I've said, just that, I'll just state that we believe that you're in breach of the terms that you agreed to at the public forum. I'll note the date of which he made that agreement.
Right.
Is, if the council agrees with me on this, that the council is very much considering revocation of the temporary COO based on those facts, as we believe them to be accurate. And we're demanding his attendance at the next council meeting, or whatever one you guys want him to be at, with explanation, or, make contact with the village by no later than, something along those lines. I don't know, I guess for me, it's up to you. If you want to wait to another meeting and I can get this back to you, or if you want me to, however you want to do it. I just want to make sure I'm giving you guys plenty of time, and I don't want to delay the process inadvertently.
No, I agree. I want to move at the pace of business, not the pace of government. I guess if the council is so inclined to trust our attorney in drafting that letter and trust myself to hand deliver it to Mr. Devine as soon as possible.
Well, we may, and not to take anything away from you, but we may actually want a process server, an independent party, just so that way there's no.
Yeah, I guess my one thought there is I've developed what I think is a decent rapport with Mr. Devine, and I know that he has not taken kind to more official channels of communication.
Okay.
I'll heed your guidance on the matter if you feel strongly that it's more advantageous to go the process server route, but.
The only thing I would ask of you then is if you can make that contact with him, we would have to have some kind of receipt where he's gonna sign off that he received this. Or do you want to do certified mail? Because then he's got to sign off on the collection of that mail. I just want it to be known, if this turns into a fight, the village went the extra step to make sure he was aware of the problem, that we invited him to talk to us in person, and he took no action, all of which he could put a little bit of effort into and resolve this. And I think, at least from my time in the village of Webberville, they've always, the council, the different administrations have always tried to be pro-business, and this would show that. But at the same time, to your point, and to Sandra's point, you gotta draw a line somewhere, and there's nothing, as they say, there's nothing, there's no such thing as too much notice. So if you gave him one more shot to show up here and explain himself, how can anyone hold that against you? Especially if you think in terms of a judge who's looking at both parties going, what's going on here? And you say, look, judge, we gave him a letter. He was in breach. We gave him a letter, gave him a shot to come and explain himself and to the people in the community, and he chose not to.
Right. Well, I certainly think that makes sense. What does the council think?
I agree with the letter.
Okay, so I would recommend that we authorize our attorney to draft a letter as explained just moments ago to be delivered by a process server at the nearest convenience. So moved on that recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Roll call.
McEwen?
Yes.
Schoenberg?
Yes.
Stanfield?
Abstain.
Walter?
Yes.
Schulte?
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Scott. If you don't mind, could you please just give me notice when that letter goes out?
Certainly will.
Thank you. Okay, last item on here is the liquor license for Johnny Gringo's for council approval. I'd say based on our discussion just now.
Motion to table it.
Motion to table it, yeah. So somebody wants to second that motion?
Second. Oh, I'm sorry, abstain.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, brings us to the end of new business. We will open up for our second and last public comments at 7:29. So at this time, if anybody from the public has any comments, now is the time to do so. You'll have 3 interrupted minutes, and we will not be answering questions. Any? Yes, sir.
Just policy, if we have public comment, when can we expect an answer to our question? You said something about getting back to the person presenting the question. Is this something that you are willing to do? If I have a question, obviously you're saying that you're not going to answer it tonight. So when will I get an answer to my response, my question?
Is that all for public comment?
Okay, my question is, where is the successor building and the donation bins going to be located?
Anything else?
Update on the truck stop. Where are we at on the development? Is there negotiation with the township at this point? And is this looking at a 425 agreement? Or is there some other process that we could use to acquire this property and the zoning?
Anything else?
The contract with the police department, I was involved in my experience as a village president, and I just want to let the council know that anytime you enter into an agreement with somebody other than a state or county a contract, you're opening the door for some very, very serious issues that this village has experienced in the past. And if anybody has any questions, I would love to inform the council as to my experience when we contracted originally with the county and some of the experiences that were very serious with a private hiring of a law enforcement. They're serious issues that can open up this public body to issues that may cost the village money. You just need to be aware of some of the issues that we did experience at that time. So please, council, open your ears, open your eyes as to this possibility of contracting with somebody other than the county. And I would like a response to these questions if I could. And is there a time frame? Or aren't you going to answer that either?
So that's been 3 minutes. Is there any last things that you need?
Yes, I'm kind of feeling a little animosity towards a public person's response to the village president. And I just want to make that publicly known that I would like to resolve this animosity. I do have questions. I do represent a portion of this village as a taxpayer, and I would like to get this animosity resolved. And I would like to know how it is that we can, I'm open for conversation with the village president to resolve these issues. And with that, I'm done. My 3 minutes must be up. So thank you, council. And I appreciate your work.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, so we'll close public comment.
Josh, did you see those questions on the live stream?
Yeah. I only see one.
There's a question on the live stream regarding South Main Street, south of Grand River. When's that going to be repaired? We are in the engineering phase of that right now. We are slated to do that project starting in spring of 2026. So next spring is when we are slated to do that project.
Thank you, Ryan. Public comments now closed. Now time for president's comment. So the questions that I heard during the last public comment is when can answers be expected? We will try to respond to any questions within 1 business week, so 5 working days, or through this presidential comment section. Where this accessory building structure is proposed, this would be at Mitchell's Pub and Grill. The origin of where we discovered the discrepancy, conflicting language in our ordinances, donation bins, where they would be located. There is no immediate plans to add any more donation bins to the village. This was simply a ordinance change to make the process more clear should people want to, because we did have somebody ask us what that process was. We recognized we didn't have one, so we created it. There's a question asking about the truck stop and whether or not that'll be a 425 agreement. At this time, it's still ambiguous as to whether or not the township will be willing to enter into said agreement or any agreement. So I'll ask our clerk treasurer, Jessica, can you please have you or your deputy clerk treasurer get in contact with the individual who asked those questions and relay those. Thank you.